Welcome back, everybody. I'm here with Audie, and we're just going to kick it off with some humble pie this morning. Audie, what's been humbling for you this week in your life?
Everything's been humbling for me. There's been an overwhelmingly amount of humble. But my babysitter, her last day is in 2 days. One day, tomorrow.
Oh,
I thought it was 2 days. It's tomorrow.
there's
Today's
the next humble
Thursday.
pie. Check.
Yeah, next humble pie. Friday, yeah, so Friday's her last day, at the very end of the day. But I'm nervous about how it's gonna go with my kid, like letting that go and being like, yeah, she's not gonna come back on Monday. But the humble pie is that over the course of like the last month, I've been trying to create a kind of just like an idea and a flow of how I want our days to go when I don't have any help. Like Monday's gonna look one way, Tuesday is gonna look one way. Each day is gonna look different, and I've like curated that in my mind. And so I had said this last week of her being here, I was going to implement that and really just get like a feel of it and figure out where I'm gonna fail and where I'm gonna need help. And I didn't do any of it. I didn't do any of that at all, actually. I decided Monday I was doing some work stuff and I was gonna pivot after I had finished to doing some like housework, moving things around. And I didn't do it. And the reason why is because I realized I was like, oh, it's gonna be a lot easier to fold the laundry or do the dishes with a almost 3-year old and a baby than it is to like sit down and like use my brain and like write things out. And I kind of like it was almost like a panic moment of like I have to do this. Like I have to like
Mhm.
scrap this plan entirely and I have to sit here and do that. And so my humility is just kind of like showing up and being like, yeah, I scrapped it. Here we are.
It's not, yeah, it's not even humiliating. I mean, I know we still have humiliating moments in our week, but I just love how you're like, it looked like a failure. It's cool though. I'm rolling with it. And that's what
Yeah.
we've been doing this for so long. That's how I was thinking too of my humble pie. And I'm like, so I was at the local fresh grocery store and I was doing the grocery pickup. My daughter, baby daughter was screaming, not my 10-year-old. My daughter was screaming. And so I pull up and I go ahead and just get out of the car. I'm waiting for the people to come, but I just go ahead and get out of the car and get her out of the car seat and just like kind of bounce her there in the parking lot. And you're right in the entrance of the store.
Yeah.
And so my door's open, I'm holding a baby and she's got some spit up and I'm wiping her off and she's good now. And so I go around to the back of the car to open up the back so she can load the groceries when she gets there. And it's completely full because we've been doing a summer like spring clean out thing in our house. And it was full of like 10 giant white trash bags full of clothes that we're donating.
Nice.
By the way, I was inspired to do that by you.
Aw.
But it's completely packed. Like there are baby things and adult like there's a lace dress laid over the top of it. Like it is a mess. And so I'm holding a baby and the back is open and all these men and teenage, they're like a group of five college girls looking so beautiful in their like crisp white university sweaters and their short shorts. And I'm like, this is my life. I used to look like that. Like, so there's like that moment, but it didn't even feel humiliating. It just felt like when the lady came, I had to put the groceries in three spots in the car. She's like, "Where do you want them?" I'm like, "Can you squeeze them around all the other crap I have in this car?"
Yeah.
Which is super annoying and feels very gross right now, but that's the season of life we're in. And so it didn't even feel bad. I actually felt like I love myself and I love my life and I love that I have the confidence to get out and nurture my baby instead of being like, she's coming or quiet or,
Yeah.
whatever. So yeah, it's humble pie, but like it tastes good.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I don't know. I think it's I had a similar moment just thinking about your story of the um looking at the college age girls, or actually it was like girls my age who they did not have kids. I don't even think they had spouses. And like that's common in your mid 20s. And I just was looking at my life and I was like, I have two kids and I'm a business owner and I have like these things going on. And I wake up in the middle of the night a billion times with these kids. And I was literally thinking, I was like, I used to be fun. Like, I used to stay up super late and I used to be able to do this. And now, like, my husband and I, we stayed up talking until like midnight last night. And
Oh.
it was one of those things where it was like, I don't, we woke up like kind of like just tired, hungover. We are like, let's not do that again. So rough. And I'm like, it's kind of, it's that moment of like, I used to be fun, but like, I also wouldn't trade like the life I
Mhm.
have for anything. And so it just, I love that comparison because you're like, oh, you guys are so cute in your university sweaters. Wait 5 years and you have a kid and
Yes.
there's
Yeah.
spit up all over you too.
But at the same time, it's like that was my maidenhood. This is my motherhood, and we're both so awesome. And
Hmm.
I loved those years, and I love these years. And it's
Yep.
yeah, but they're definitely there definitely are those moments when you're like, I haven't worn makeup in 20 days. I wonder what I look like right now,
Right.
you know?
Right. Oh my gosh. Oh, that's so true. Ah, Reagan. Well, what else has been happening with you?
Okay, so I've shared a little bit, sporadically throughout these podcasts about the my marriage. My marriage has kind of been just going through it this year. We've been married 12 years, and we've always said you've heard us say this, Audie, like as friends, we have an amazing marriage. And
Hmm.
I had cancer, and my husband had a debilitating illness where he was so like humiliatingly sick. I mean, I'm not going to go
Yeah.
into the details. Humiliatingly sick. And it was ulcerative colitis, and just they basically just told him at age 29, you're going to have your colon removed, or you're going to have colon cancer. Like,
Hmm.
so I was 29. We were pregnant with my first child, and so all these big life hard things, but our marriage has never been hard. When
Hmm.
people have like arguments and all these things and differences of opinions and just the tension, and we just haven't had that. And
Hmm.
maybe it's because life has been so hard that we've just had to cling to each other.
Yeah.
um I don't know, but this year since getting pregnant has been our first year, and my baby's 6 months now, so it's like we're like
Yeah.
over the year mark of just hard, so
Mm.
hard. And so I shared with you a couple weeks ago about, or maybe it was last podcast, I don't remember because we talk all the time, but I shared with you how, um, like, whenever I took duties back over after being postpartum and after having a painful pregnancy, I kind of overdid it
Hmm.
and kind of got to that wall point where I was going, this is too much. I can't do all of this all the time. This is crazy.
Right.
And like I had to slam into the wall before I realized. And so just kind of breaking open my challenge and looking at that whole kind of meta story there has been, I coach on this all the time. Like, why didn't I
Hmm.
recognize earlier on that I was kind of
Hmm.
over functioning and overperforming and
Hmm.
trying to be holy and responsible, and it was too much. And my thoughts were kind of like, if I don't push hard, if I don't keep doing this, then my my husband's probably gonna get super mad or emotional because he carried it for so long.
Hmm.
And if I put some of this weight on my husband and he gets emotional, how's that going to affect the kids? They're gonna get upset and feel weird and shaky and afraid. And I don't want
Hmm.
to like, I have to kind of protect all of them from those emotions and just
Right.
keep doing this stuff. I have to keep doing all of the work of the emotional labor, the
Hmm.
teachers' calls and the emails and the end of school year and the teacher appreciation week and the dinners and the grocery shopping and the meal plan. I mean, all of it.
Yeah.
And I just kind of, I told you I hit a wall, but I'm kind of looking at why I didn't catch it sooner. Does that make sense?
Mm. Yeah, no, it makes sense.
Have
Absolutely.
you?
It definitely makes sense because I it's like the underwhelming or the underlying sense of it being your responsibility, like everything is your responsibility. And I feel like I've done that similarly in some ways as well. Like I remember that like specifically my husband and I we've reached a really good place with our like faith, like our church relationship and um it feels good to go to mass. It feels good to have conversations about God between the two of us and alone. And it just, it hasn't felt good ever in our relationship. And I was kind of doing the same thing, like digging around, like, okay, well, like, why hasn't this been comfortable? And I dug into that. And for me, it was like years and years ago when I first moved here to be close to my husband. I had been like overwhelmingly diving into like volunteering and whatnot like my entire life. My mom took us to church and we did every volunteer, everything. Um, I was so comfortable in that church. It wasn't even funny because I just knew it like the back of my hand. And it was the same situation when I went on Crossroads and eventually met my husband. Like that was because I was people pleasing. And I had felt like that similar feeling that you're talking about. It's like if I don't keep doing these things, if I don't keep pushing and overextending and like just diving into it, like something's gonna fall apart. Like I'm gonna go to hell, or that's gonna make me a bad person, or like the litany that we tell ourselves, right? So
I'm
I
gonna lose
fully
my faith.
resonate with that. I'm gonna lose my faith. Yeah, I'm gonna lose, like I'm not gonna be worthy of God's love. Like we can
Yeah.
hit it hard. Um, but gosh, no, I resonate, and like that kind of gives me chills because that it's hard to face that.
Yeah, it's I love that example that you gave. And I wanted to mention too, you said Crossroads, but for people who might not know what that is, do you want to kind of explain what that is?
Yeah, Crossroads is a pro-life organization and they do walks across the country, the United States. They had done them I think for about 20 years and they haven't done them for a few years. I don't know if the organization is like officially shut down or like what's going on, but it was about 15 or 20 years of multiple walks across the country in raising awareness for the dignity and sanctity of life from conception to natural death. And so I did that in the summer of 2017. And I met my husband on the walk and everything, and it's like it was absolutely a life-changing experience. It was beautiful. If I hadn't gone on that walk, I would not have the life that I have today. And I praise God that I made it. But I think it's so interesting because it was fully done out of my mom had presented this to me. I think I spoke about this on one of our other episodes, but my mom presented it to me, and I was people pleasing my mom because I wanted her to be happy with me. And I said, yes, I will go on this mission. That's a 3 month walk across the country over the summer. Um, and so all of these beautiful, good things came from people pleasing.
Yeah, yeah, and it's God rides straight with crooked lines. Like it's
Hmm.
like when people say things like, like I have, friends who got pregnant before they got married. They were in high
Hmm.
school or whatever, and they're like, "Look, I'm not. God could have made me happy with this family and this child if I had done it properly.
Hmm.
I didn't have to sin to get this. It's just that God can bless us even whenever we're struggling."
Yeah.
And so that's kind of what I like, just to like flesh that out as I
Yeah.
feel like you were trying to say, like, it's so good that you went and God made so much fruit come from it.
Hmm.
But also, you'd rather choose to do these big life changing things from a place of choice, freedom, abundance. I mean, God
Yeah.
wants you to choose it freely and not because you're like imprisoned to pleasing your own parent or your own husband or
Hmm.
so. I guess, but so much fruit came from it.
Yeah.
So why don't you just keep people pleasing people now if so much fruit came from it?
Yeah, no, it's totally not sustainable to people please. It's totally not sustainable to stay in that mindset of, oh, I'll just overproduce and overdo this over and over and over because it doesn't matter. Um, your family's going to suffer for it. And at the time, I didn't have a family. Like I was a teenager, like trying to figure life out. And I fully believed if I'm the only one suffering, it doesn't matter. And I think that like that's kind of like carried on into like of like even your story right now. What I hear is like I would be the only one that's suffering, so I'll take all of it on. And that's
Mm-hmm.
just like that's the lie that we're like feeding ourselves, but it's actually oozing into everything else, just like we're worried about if we like
Mm-hmm.
let it go. Does that make sense?
Yeah. So when you're a teenager, maybe we didn't all notice the side effects of you people pleasing. We just saw the fruit later. Well, she
Yeah.
changed. Well, she met a good man. Well, she changed her life for the better. But now, if you people please and you overextend, you overfunction, you overperform. Like
Hmm.
for me, this last season where I was trying to overperform again, the fallout is my kids feel that I'm angry, I'm tense.
Hmm.
What was going on in my body, honestly, like you can feel that feeling of like gripping. Like I gotta get this day going because I have so much
Yeah.
to do. Like, I mean, I got so many things to just squeeze in and get done and get done and get done. So like by the time I'm nursing my daughter around 9 a.m. every morning to put her down for her first nap, and right there, like I could feel the clench. Like I could
Yeah.
feel in my body that go, 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 go feeling.
Yeah.
And it's not noble. It's
Mm-hmm.
not, I thought I was trying to be holy and responsible, but it's really just a protective
Mm-hmm.
mechanism. Like to keep chaos or keep emotions from my family, I have to grip and carry it all on my shoulders. It kind of reminds me of, oh, who's the big sister that like carries all the weight on her shoulders in the Disney movie?
Louisa
Yes, like that's
and
kind of what I
Encanto.
was doing. I said earlier, like it's like I'm a sham wow, and I'm like holding all the emotions and just soaking it all up and protecting it from my family. And it's just, they could feel it. Like my husband and I were
Yeah.
very distant during that time. I wanted to keep him at arm's length. I was kind of just hacked off at him and didn't really realize I
Mm-hmm.
wasn't able to just like embrace my children. I was thinking and feeling on the inside that like I've got to just get some stuff done. This is a waste of time
Yeah.
snuggling you, you know? So
No,
like
I
the whole
know.
point of motherhood.
Yeah, and it's interesting because we have you and I have similar but different goals like in life. Like we still have like we have dreams that we want to hit and places that we want to be, but like our big motivation is so we can spend that time with our kids and our family. Like because that's the ultimate goal. That's what we want to do. And it sucks because we lose ourselves in that sometimes.
Hmm.
Because just like you said, it sure would be great if we could just keep people pleasing and then it would be fine, right? Like we'd people please and see the fruit and that's good, but like you lose the fulfillment and you lose like the sanctity in that as well. And
Yes,
like
that's a
you're
good way to put
also
it.
robbing it from other people. Like if you're just going to soak up all the emotions so nobody has to deal with them, then they're not going to be resilient. They're not going to learn how to communicate. They're not going to, and it just robs them of like opportunities now in a safe space to learn those things.
Amen. Amen. Yeah, I mean, that's exactly right. How can you? And when I got coached, that's what she's asking me, like, what are some strategies you might want to employ to let your children feel the
Yeah.
heaviness of this season of life, and then choose to kind of find their own ways to carry some of the weight in
Hmm.
small ways, you know? But then my
Yeah.
husband, like, in big ways, because he's the man of
Hmm.
the family, and he can handle it. He's an adult. So, um, yeah, just allowing both of them. And then also protecting my kids and my husband from that too. It's like
Hmm.
we know that marriage is like your path to heaven. If you choose to get married, like your spouse is going to help you get to heaven. And if
Hmm.
I'm robbing all opportunity for my husband to grow and to feel and to respond to those emotions and to
Yeah.
practice not exploding or to practice managing those emotions, if I'm just being like, nope, I'll protect him from all of those,
Yeah.
then I'm literally robbing him from his pathway to sanctification. So
Hmm.
I'm like, oh, I'm like stealing heaven from him. Whoops.
And that's not it's not holy, right? But it feels holy to do it. Like why do you think that it feels like we should be doing it, but we absolutely don't need to be doing it at all?
I think for me, there's just that when I'm in that space of whatever it is when I'm over functioning, if I pause and say, like, because you can feel it, right? You can feel it by day
Hmm.
two for sure of like, oh,
Yeah.
this is too much. um, like with you volunteering at church or getting involved, like you can tell if you say yes to something and then you're like, oh, this is straining our family chronically.
Hmm.
I,
Yeah.
at what point do we go, um, what am I thinking? Like, what are my thoughts here?
Yeah.
And like for me, my thoughts are like, again, I said like if I don't carry it, no one else will.
Yeah.
Or if I don't carry it all by myself, the kids and my husband will have to. And that's just so
Yeah.
like once you say it out loud, you're like, well, that's silly.
Yeah.
Why were you when you feel this way like to overfunction or to like over volunteer or something like What are your thoughts? What's the lie, the sneaky little lie that's getting in your head?
Yeah. No, something that you had mentioned while we were talking, just in preparation, was there's like this level of like it feels holy, but it also feels like impressive. Like there's this
Mm,
level of like pride that I think is, I don't think it's conscious. Like I don't think I'm like, oh yeah, I'm miss like gonna volunteer at everything and I'm gonna be part of everything. Like I don't think that was ever my goal. Um, but it did like it boosted that for me. And it gave me an ego boost. And then it turns into the opposite of that, where it's like, oh, you're a complete failure if you can't keep this up. Like you suck. Like, you need to be doing that. You can't volunteer. Like, and Jesus just like got whipped and beaten and carried a cross all the way up the, and you can't just go volunteer. And so there's like this level of like,
oh,
do you,
gross.
I know it feels so nasty, right? Like it feels nasty. This is gross.
That, ew. Like, I get the pride part, and you're so right. We have this part of us, and that's a good part, right? Like the part that says, I want to be perfect. I want to volunteer. I want to be really involved in my church. I want to be I like that's a good part of us. It comes from a good place.
Yeah.
Um, but sometimes it gets ugly, and it's like if you don't do this,
Mm-hmm.
and then it twists on you like that, and that is
Um,
just like when you just said that, it Jesus did a way more than you did. And you can't even volunteer. Does that sound like the voice of God?
mm-mm, not at
It's
all.
so accusatory.
Mm-hmm.
It's so accusatory. It's like that one comes from the accuser himself.
Yeah.
And that's just
Mm.
that's wild. That's wild to hear it like that. Ew.
It- I know. And it's like it's nasty, but I like there's also a point that you have to reach, and like that's the way like when I moved, I tried to continue doing the volunteering, and then I kind of like I collapsed on myself. Like it was I moved into isolation. I was guilting and blaming and shaming, and I was like, you are like literally awful. Like you are the worst person in the world. You're a bad Christian, you're a bad Catholic. Like you can't keep up with all of this. And it was like it was bad. Like it was really bad. And that stemmed like that just seeped into my relationship with God, my relationship with the church, my relationship with my husband, and then our relationship together with God. And it's just super interesting because I've seen the negative fruits of that for literally like the last 7 years. Up until this point that we've reached over this last, like, I don't know, I'd say 8 months to a year of just like rejuvenating and like asking the hard questions, and like we had to name the lie. Like we had to identify why we were doing what we were doing. We had to like talk about it, which was really hard. It was really
Mhm.
hard to be able to talk about it and be like, okay, why do I feel like no church we go to is like homey? And I realized it wasn't the church, it was like it was me. Like it was
Mm.
fully me. It was like because you don't feel like you can be at home because you don't feel like you're good enough. And that stinks.
Mm.
That really
Oh.
stinks. And now we're at this beautiful church, and I feel at home because I'm like, this is home and I like this, and it's okay that I like this. And we're in like this different step, but like it's asking God, like that's the same thing that comes over and over. It's like, what do you say about this instead? Like instead of me thinking I'm a complete failure, like what are you trying to tell me? Like, oh, you have a bunch of wounds that like are gonna pile up over the next 7 years, and you need to like take a step back so you can breathe those in and have capacity to work through them. That's what he was actually saying. But what I told myself instead was, you're a failure, you stink, you need to be doing better, etc. And that made healing, that made taking that step back so much, like 10 times harder, like 10 times harder than it
Yeah.
needed to be.
Dragging it out makes you
Hmm.
drag it out. Yeah, it's
Absolutely.
you're kind of drawing a like a trajectory there. I see this point of okay, I'm over functioning, I'm volunteering out of guilt or pressure or this like gripping feeling. I gotta get stuff done, and me too, but not at church, but at home.
Hmm.
And then it's like if I let go, it's going to combust. And it kind
Yeah.
of does. I was actually starting this podcast thinking, let's help ourselves feel safe letting go and surrendering, letting the hands
Hmm.
loosen. But the truth is that it does get kind of a squeeze there. There's some
Hmm.
pain, there's some combustion there. Like you kind of had some collapsing. and I kind of had some combustion with my letting my family just feel all the emotions that I'd been protecting them from. It does get a little dicey there
Yeah.
first, but it's
Mm-hmm.
kind of like ripping the band-aid off, or like, you've got to
Yeah.
move through that discomfort,
Mm-hmm.
and then on the other side of it, then you can start healing and rebuilding properly.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's like you were doing it the wrong way, broke that down and just
Yeah.
for bare bones. Like, okay, Lord, you rebuild here. And then you let him slowly rebuild you to this way where you can volunteer, you can get involved in a way that is sustainable to you, your family, your heart, God's mission for your life.
Absolutely.
But I guess we have to have the courage and honestly just showing us, you know
Yeah.
why it's safe to let go? Because it is a trajectory. You are going to move through the yuck into a beautiful other side.
Yeah.
And you cannot get there if you don't just let it go and go through
Right.
it.
And I hear this on social media all the time. Like, I feel like it's like every other reel nowadays, where it's like we're talking about the mental load and we're talking about like the household and how like husbands come home and they do absolutely nothing. And honestly, I allowed myself, and that's what was modeled for me growing up, was like, I'm not going to allow my husband to have the opportunity to try something and fail. Like, I'm just going to do it because I know I'm going to do it right. So that's what I modeled. Like
Mm,
that's the way I stuck. And I had realized, like, just like seeing all this stuff, it's like, how many times are we not letting go? Like, we're literally just like gripping onto it because we're afraid of, like, I'm gonna have to go clean the bathroom again, or he's gonna do bedtime wrong, or gonna feed the kids too much sugar, like, whatever it is. It's like, we have to be able to learn. And honestly, like a big deal with all of this is like communication that happens afterwards, because we need to be able to bring this and say, hey, I allowed you, I gave this to you. This was mine, and now I gave it to you, and you tried it out, and it wasn't really great, but we can't like shame him or shame whoever we give that to for like not getting it immediately. Um, like with my kiddo, I cannot give a 3-year-old something that's breakable and say, I need you to like take this around the house a couple of times and not break it, and then expect
mhm,
it to come
mhm.
back in one piece. Like you've got to, it's the baby steps. And it's the same thing. Like I so resonate with your story because it's like you've got to give your kids like little things. You've got to give your husband these certain things, and like letting go of that mental load, and like shedding the things that don't belong to you.
Yeah. Well, and that's the letting go. I also see this really misused, like how we surrender. How do we do this, right? So
That's so true.
our discussion so far has painted the picture of like what happens if you don't do it. You literally make yourself sick, tired, emotional, angry. You rob yourself from the fruit. Like for my story,
Hmm.
I rob myself from the joys of motherhood because I'm
Yeah.
working so hard in motherhood. So annoying, right? It's like, okay, let those go, let it combust, let it get messy, move to the other side. But how do we actually feel safe enough to let go? Because we've been told that surrender is just like throwing your hands up, like, it's yours,
Mm-hmm.
Lord. And I'm sorry to give that the Southern accent. I love Southern accents, but it just drives me crazy
Mm-hmm.
because that is such a common thing. I hear it all the time in my own church circles, like,
Yeah.
oh, we just need to surrender this. We just need to surrender this. We just need to let this go. Regan, I don't need to talk about this. I don't need to do anything about it. I'm just going to let it go. Like, do you
Yeah.
know how to let it go? Do you know that you can't just like grab your own hands off the steering wheel and like claw him off? That's not
Yeah.
letting go. Letting go is feeling like you like bring instead of clawing your own hands off the wheel and being like, Jesus, you take it. I'm freaking out, but you take it. It's like pulling the car over and like resting, telling him how sorry and how sad you are, how mad you are, how frustrated you are, letting him hold you, and then like when you're ready, letting him drive. When you feel
Mm-hmm.
so relaxed and peaceful that then you let him drive and you're still riding with him. You're still saying, we need to turn right there, we need to pull over here, we need to get gas, we need to pick up our kids, but you're letting him
Yeah.
drive from a place of total safety and comfort. And
Yeah.
it's hard to do that without someone kind of guiding you through that process to help your body feel the
Yeah.
true version of surrender.
That's so true. Gosh, that's like, because it's not like surrendering is not like, just like you said, the ripping the hands off the wheels, but we have to have awareness of what we're surrendering.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that that's where so many people get stuck, like even at that very first level of like awareness, because awareness is the top of it, and there's still like three or four other steps afterwards. But you still
Yep.
have to, like, you have to be able to name, like, what is the lie that you're telling yourself. And like my lie was, if I don't keep overextending myself, I'm gonna go to hell, or I'm not gonna be good enough. And that, as silly as it sounds, is fully what I believed.
Mm-hmm.
And I think a lot of us, we come up with a lie like that, and we think, oh, that's so silly. Like, I don't believe that.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I'm not controlling. Like, this has nothing to do with me. Um, and then we're in denial about the awareness that we need to work through in order to get through to the bottom of it, and take that small, scary step of letting something go. Or even just the scary
Mm-hmm.
step, like pulling over to the side of the road and just resting. And just
Mm-hmm.
like I think you had mentioned, like creating like this bit of silence just to understand and to hear what's going on, you know?
Yeah, absolutely. Like that moment when you start this deconstruction process to go, wait, I'm gonna unlearn the forced pressure, people pleasing.
Hmm.
I show up so that others think I'm impressive and holy and responsible. No, 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 no.
Yeah.
We got to deconstruct that.
Yeah.
And when you do that, it does kind of look like pulling back, and so that you can kind of quiet all the noise and
Hmm.
then go, okay, Lord, what do you want me to say yes to? What do you
Yeah.
want me to see about this quiet time? What do you want to teach me here at this pullover to the side of the road? What do you want to teach me here? And I
Yeah.
think a lot of us are really afraid to pull back. Like, if I challenged our listeners to like pull back from 50%, not even 100%, 50% of your activities that you do right now. If you pulled back from school events and saying yes to grandkids and going to all of your volunteer stuff and all the things you said yes to, and the tur- sporting stuff, like if you were like, we're cutting
Hmm.
it in half this year for 1 year, we're
Yeah.
cutting it in half, and we're going to offer that silence to the Lord and ask Him, what does He want us to put back? Can you imagine
Yeah.
the space you open up, the clarity, your body to finally calm down from the go, go,
Hmm.
go? Your nervous system's gonna, like, it's just crazy. But
It's,
He's asking us to give Him 100. He's asking us to give Him our whole lives and not
yeah.
just 50%.
Yeah. That's so true. When you say that, it makes me think, like, had I, instead of going into shame, blame, isolation 7 years ago, had I like pulled like just slowly stopped and like pulled everything back to see like everything that I see now, like honestly, I think that would have terrified me. And I think that maybe subconsciously I had seen it. Like subconsciously, I was like, oh, my childhood has been a problem. The coping mechanisms I've developed, they are a problem. Like these other things, like this is big and this is ugly and I don't know what to do with it. And so I feel like having that awareness is also part of what like turns us off, because it's like, what is the big giant elephant in the room that you've been ignoring for so long? And the thing is again, sanctification and holiness, like we have to face it. Like God wants us to face it, because that is ultimately what's going to get us to heaven, is we work through our problems. Like what is it that Claire says, that she says this all the time, Claire Schemer in The Rising Tide, she says, your problems are, how does she
Aren't
say
in
it?
the way. The problems aren't in the way, they are the way.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's so good. Yeah, that's, we talked about maybe sharing a story in here, but we just kind of didn't do it. But the resistance too. Like, if we're talking right now and you're feeling some gross and you're feeling like, well, that's not going to work, or this isn't the time, I don't have time for that, or well, that would,
Yeah.
like, whatever your little fussy little things that are coming up in your body, those are
Yeah.
good. Like, those are so good. Like, I don't want you to suppress those. I don't want you to put them away. I want to hear them. I want them to come up, and you
Yeah.
bring them to the light. And you go, oh, this fussiness right here, this thing that I have that says that will never freaking work, Regan and Audie. That is the way. That is
Yeah.
the way. Like, I just, I wish we could talk one on one. Like, that's why we coach, because that resistance right
Yeah.
there, you bring it up, you shine it in the light, you let the light of God and that truth shine on it, and it
Hmm.
becomes so clear. This resistance is what is keeping you stuck.
Yeah.
And let's look at it and let's hug it. Let's embrace it. Let's not just say, um, I'm not gonna I'm not gonna talk about it, or I'm gonna push that down. I'm
Yeah.
gonna move around it. I'm gonna keep it as the elephant in the room. Like
Yeah.
that, the resistance is the way. It's the key to being able to actually have behavioral change. A really easy example of this, because these are big life topics that we're talking about.
Mm-hmm.
An easy, simple example, I think, is working out or losing weight or getting
Yeah.
fit. Like when you are starting a health routine and then you're struggling with it and you just feel this resistance, like, no, I don't want to do it.
Mm-hmm.
No, I'm not going to do it. If most people just quit and hide. But
Yeah.
if you were able to, like, if we're coaching through it, we would bring the resistance up. What is there?
Mm-hmm.
Like, Audie, can you share that little piece? I mean, I've done this personally for
Yeah.
myself and for clients, but can you share that little piece about your client?
Yeah, I had a client that had mentioned that she would get to the workout and she would get close to the end. She had the physical capability to keep going, but there was a mental block of like, I cannot finish this. Her heart rate would get high and she was just really like in this phase of just like this was connected to something else, but she wasn't sure what it was. So we got quiet, we got still, and we figured out the resistance was connected to something in the middle of her life. And then it was actually connected to something once we had identified that, something super early, like super early from childhood, like this feeling of like neglect and abandonment, um, and truly stuff that she did not deserve to go through, like absolutely did not deserve to go through. And I'm so she has since had like a breakthrough because we've been able to. I coached on it and we came up with a few scripts that were going to help her remind herself that she is safe in that moment when she's working out. And she like reached a personal broke a personal record, which is like really awesome, and I'm so proud of her. But that entire situation was she saw the resistance. And that's something she said. She was like, I'm aware that the resistance is something that I need to identify and like work through. But we had to like, we brought it to coaching. We were able to do that. But I've seen so many other clients see that resistance and then run away. And they're like, I can't handle this. I don't know what this is. I don't, and like I've done it personally too, because sometimes that resistance feels really big. Because just like my client, like she brought this up and it was actually connected to something like in childhood, like deep, deep, deep in childhood. And it hurts. It was painful. It was painful when we coached through it. But had she not brought up that resistance, had she not poked at it, had she not worked through that, then she wouldn't have been able to reach to beat the personal record in the gym. Um, and so it's working through that resistance and pushing through that. Like, you know that the outcome is going to be better. And logically, we have that in our head. We know that we need to work through something. We need to identify it and do the hard thing. But if our heart, if our mind, and if our dream isn't connected to that, then there's going to be no motivation to face the big thing. And that's the same thing I did with my own story is I had no motivation to open up the mom issues and everything like that because I didn't have a solidified future. The boyfriend I was with at the time, which turns into my husband, I didn't know he was going to be my husband yet. I didn't know I was going to have kids. I did not have a future outside of like anything that I could think of or anything I could dream of. But once I was able to see my beautiful little baby in my arms, my first daughter, I realized oh, this is my future, and I've had this, and I was working towards some version of this, and I could have hung on to that the entire time, but I didn't. And that's okay. And again, we go back to like the people pleasing and God making straight lines out of crooked ones. Um, that resistance had to be met. I met mine 6 years later, but we don't have to wait that long.
Oh, that's so good. That's so good. And you're right. And we have different styles, but so I want to call out Audie's like, you have to say yes and meet it on face on. Like, be a warrior in your own story. Be a main character. Show some freaking main character energy and show up to your life with a sword.
Yeah.
Come on. But also, I'm like, you have to feel safe going there. So
Hmm.
know that if you go with a coach, if you go with a trustworthy person, you can actually take
Absolutely.
Jesus Christ with you and feel, if you don't feel like a warrior right now, that's okay. You don't actually have to be feeling ready to pick up the sword. It can be a very I'm ready to cry at the feet of the Lord right now
Yeah.
first. And so
Well,
just to
and
bring both sides of that, I think both of those are,
yeah.
we're going to do both. We're going to do
hmm
both.
We're gonna do both. I was gonna say the same thing. I went through some of the most difficult times in my life, set some of the most biggest boundaries with right before I started coaching with you. And that's when I realized I was like, oh, I don't want to like I feel like I was carrying a giant heavy sword I couldn't really lift. And I'm like, I'm out here like trying to do this by myself and I don't know what I'm doing. And I'll never forget I had told you that I had been through that. Maybe this was maybe like a month into the group or something that we had been doing. And you were like, what if you had had this before? Like, what if you had had that? And I was just like, dude, I could have lifted the sword by myself. Like, I wouldn't have had to worry about that.
Yes.
And yeah, you gave me space to cry at the feet of Jesus. Like, and that is, I just want to like fully solidify what you just said because it is so true that number one, we don't have to do it on our own. And number two, like iron sharpens iron. And that's something I think we
Mhm.
forget. It's like you can come and bring this and be vulnerable. And I am not going to shame or blame you. You're not going to shame or blame anybody. But instead, we're going to be like, hey, I'm gonna sharpen your sword for you. Or it's like you need to go take a nap. That's fine. I'll keep watch. Like whatever it is that you need, that's the point of the coach. The coach is going to be able to be there and help you get that done.
Yes. And really like show you that it's already inside of you.
Oh yeah.
Like it's
Oh
already
yeah.
there. God designed you. He gave you everything you need. It's
Yeah.
there. And sometimes it's just been so hurt and so pressured and so suppressed that you don't see it anymore. And that's what we can do. We can just bring it out
Yeah.
and show you it's right there. Look at it. It's so
Yep.
good. Like when you're
Absolutely.
ready, use it. But it's all there. Like there's nothing we're like putting into you.
Yeah.
God already did all of that. It's so good. We just get to bring it back out because it really gets
Absolutely.
so it gets so murky and muddled. I know a lot of women are like, "Well, I
hmm
used to be really social, or I used to be really like active, or I used to love doing that," and it gets broken
hmm
over time. Like
Yeah.
a lot of traumatic things happen to us over our lives, and even chronic and small t trauma, just like even just the hardship of having children or having a heavy
hmm
lifting job or having a
Yeah.
someone in your life die. Like these things are heavy and they change us over
hmm
time. So
Yeah.
just being able to spend time saying, you know what, I'm gonna just dig all of my real parts back up and
Yeah.
who God really made me originally
Yeah.
and be that person again. Just love it.
Absolutely. And to like circle it all the way back around to like we were talking about marriage and your marriage at the beginning. Like you and your husband have gone through so many things, like you had said, like you had laid that down. And then there's like this moment where you look at your husband, you're like, who are you? Like you're different than
Mhm.
when I met you. And like he looks at the same, it's like, who am I? Like I'm different from when you met. And there's something about that because it's like just like you said, I'm coming back to like my true self. Like I'm healing
Mhm.
these pieces and coming back to my true self. Like you guys have conquered so much. You have made it through so many things. And this is God's way. Like we've been through some struggles over the last 6 months and um but a therapist has really posed the question of like what is God trying to prepare you? What is God trying to show you in this moment? And I think the entire thing that you're learning in the season, my husband and I are learning in the season, is that we can do both. We can mm, we can face these things and we can stay the person that we're meant to be and we can figure out that balance and sometimes it's going to look like we have a few rough months in marriage and sometimes it's going to look like we have the best glorious times in marriage. But you have that resilience, you and your husband both do, because of everything that you've been through. And I think that is such a blessing. And it's so inspiring to have been through what you've been through and then now, like, it's like you have all these tools and now you're building the house. Like, you bought the
Mhm.
land and you're building the house. And, like, I think it's awesome that we have this podcast to record and, like, track that because I'm excited.
Yeah.
She's laying foundation. And I'm like, what is she
Yes.
going to bring next week? Like, do you have the walls up? What are we doing?
That's so cool. That is true. I always check with my husband. I'm like, I'm kind of just outing us on the air. Are you cool with that? He's like, yeah, we're good. I'm like, okay. Just check. It's nothing like too specific, but it
Yeah.
is kind of watching it all. Um, yeah, I always tell my clients too, whenever we're teaching on accountability and really like allowing others to feel discomfort in their own behaviors and actions, and was showing them our discomfort when they act
Yeah.
ugly or mean or whatever. Um, the piece that always comes out, you just said, and it's it when we are who we truly are, when we really dig up the yucky stuff and the good stuff, and we like find our childhood self and like
Yeah.
our little silly quirks, and we let God prune us into that person,
Mm-hmm.
the intimacy skyrockets
Yeah.
because you are now being fully seen who you really are instead of like wearing like a big cardboard box around you and kind of like
Yeah.
this is who like kind of hiding and shielding all of your I don't want to show him my anger. I don't want to show him my frustration. I don't want to show him
Yeah.
my postpartum fears. I don't want to show him but like when you take the stupid cardboard box off and you just bear who you really are. You show him this is me. Do you want to reject
Yeah.
me? And he's doing the same thing. It's like, oh, this is me. Like,
Yeah.
do you take me? And then the closeness, the intimacy, the conversation, the trust, it just skyrockets. You literally
Mm-hmm.
can't have intimacy with someone that you're protecting from who you really are.
That's good.
Mm.
Mic drop.
Bam.
Boom. It's
Mm.
good. Oh, wow. Well, that's good.
We went all over the place with that one.
We did. We went everywhere.
Do you have a final thought for our people?
I do. My final thought is, you are not weak for wanting to let go. You are not weak for wanting to stop. And I think that's something that I needed 7, 8 years ago was you don't need to go through the shame and blame and guilt cycle. Like there's nothing weak about it. And it's beautiful and good and holy to stop and look at the ugly and see the ugly and say, this is where we are. This is what I'm feeling. This is what I'm experiencing. And so that's kind of like my final thought or final wrap up is, it makes you wise to stop.
Mm. So I can think of a lot of virtues like wisdom
Mhm.
and brave, courage, um, hopeful because you're hoping that when you stop, even though it's going to get gross first, you're hopeful in the future.
Yeah,
Like it takes a virtuous woman to do this work.
absolutely. Mm. And what about
And
you?
I think I'm just gonna stick with yours because that's it. Like my niche wants to be virtuous. My
Yeah.
niche is working and sprinting and over functioning to be virtuous, and it's going to take more virtues to deconstruct that old model and let the Lord rebuild it His way.
Mhm.
And I don't know if I've shared this story. I'm sure I have, but like I had a word of the year back when I was healing from cancer, and it was restore. Have I shared this probably a million
Mm.
times? I'm sorry, but it gave me the word restore in 2020, and 2019 was healing, 2020 was restore, and I was like, "Do you mean reconstruct?" And he's like, "No, I mean restore." I'm like, "Do you mean rebuild?" Because I was praying for him to rebuild my life after cancer, rebuild it, reconstruct it, put it back how it was, and he was like, "No." I mean, restore. And so I went to scripture looking for that, and it was the 60-fold, 100-fold. I will restore you
Mhm.
100-fold what you were before. And
Wow.
so, this courage to be a virtuous woman, to say, I'm going to stop these old toxic patterns of overfunctioning and overperforming and pushing through because I know that on the other side of this, he's going to restore me 100-fold. I'm going to have
Mhm.
better relationships, better marriage, better grandkids, relations with my grandkids, my friends, my coworkers, my children. It's going to be 100 times better than what it is now if I can just have the courage to go.
That's so good, Regan.
Thank you so much for this conversation.
Thank you. Thank you so much for tuning in to today's episode of the Weekly Fellowship Podcast. If you'd like to work with Regan, you can learn more about her on her website at reganclementcoaching.com.
And if you'd like to work with Audye, you can find her at audiegonzalez.com.